We'll start off with the roll call.
Hoffman, present.
Hassett, present.
Lane present. I would ask and remind people if you could silence your phones if you haven't already done so. And for those able, I would ask that you stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you everyone for coming tonight. And we'll start right off with our agenda items. And first thing is to approve our available minutes. So June 13th minutes. I think, Alan, I heard you say that there is a correction on the June 13th minutes.
Yes, just a minor correction.
Yep.
Let me find it.
I think it's line 73 is what you were mentioning on the second page.
Yeah, line 73 should be, the word express should be expressed with an ED at the end.
Yeah. So instead of saying without the express written approval, it says without the expressed written approval.
That's correct.
Okay. Right. Okay. No other changes. I have a motion to accept the minutes of June 13th as amended.
I motion.
Second. A motion and second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous. Now we have the minutes of June 20th, 2024. Any comments on those, Alan? Gail?
No.
Okay. Do I have a motion to accept the minutes of June 20th, 2024 as written?
So moved.
Second.
A motion and second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Okay. So the next item on our agenda is a discussion on acreage holdings. I will start off the discussion on acreage holdings. David and I had a very informative, positive discussion with Dan Karpaska of DEP concerning the issues at acreage holdings. One of the things that we discovered was that the industrial wastewater tank in question is unregistered with the, it's just a formality, really. Doesn't mean there's anything wrong with the tank itself. It's a formality that it needs to be registered. So it is unregistered with the DEP. Also that we have not been given the name or any of the hauling records for the industrial wastewater hauler. I mean, it's a long conversation. You have anything to add about that?
Summarizes it very well. I think we've got nothing substantial yet with regards to the individuals and/or any permitting on that.
So when the wastewater is hauled, acreage has to keep those records for a minimum of 3 years. We have not gotten any records, even though we've requested records. We haven't requested records since they stated they hired a new industrial wastewater hauler. But the other side of that is the industrial wastewater hauler has to report what they haul to us, just like when they pump the septic tanks. So I'm going to request at this point, and we can have discussion on that, that we designate one member of our board as the point of contact with Acreage Holdings to work with David so that we don't have to wait a month in between taking actions. So we as a board can do that. One of the things that I think needs to be done is a letter or even a one-on-one or a face-to-face discussion with Acreage concerning their responses to us, and that they need to be more forthcoming with their responses. So that's where I sit at this point. And then each month whoever that point of contact, and David will report back to the board as to where we are with this, because I think we need to really get going on it.
We sent them a registered letter, David.
We've sent them a letter, it wasn't registered. It was more of an inquiry, and their response, as you may recall, their response was kind of loose. Thank you for your letter dated May 30th. Please note that our filtration replacement, this was for the odor, pertaining to the odor issues. Also, unfortunately, we have not been able to locate any wastewater pumping records. As noted in the cited email message, a former employer who is no longer with the company ceased following the standard operating procedures and stopped hauling water. We have since engaged with a new vendor and have resumed water hauling procedures. So that was prior to our discussion with DEP. And, you know, as Rich has noted, that DEP has encouraged us to get something on record here.
Now, is there any reason DEP hasn't stepped in since we've done this research and they're accountable to them? We're kind of like doing what they should be doing without the authority that they have. Am I incorrect in this assumption?
I wouldn't say incorrect, but I would say that the DEP wants us to do it. It was very clear from that conversation on the phone
Okay.
that the DEP would like us to step up to, and they will back us up. He was very clear on that.
Okay.
They will back us up. So that's why I was hoping that we could designate one of us as the point of contact and work with David to get on them on a regular basis, daily or weekly, whatever we need to do. Number one, to find out who their industrial wastewater hauler is, because they should be, according to their own records, emptying that tank about once every 20 days. And then through the hauler, number one, he needs to be licensed. We have not licensed any industrial wastewater haulers as a board.
So do they come under sewage, or do we don't have a separate line item for industrial waste?
That's true. But it is the same statute, and I actually printed it up for you guys. It's in that pile that I gave you.
Okay.
So, yes, yeah. So 31A and B, actually. No, it would be in this pile here. So we're gonna talk about that later. Permit for removal or transportation of garbage, et cetera, and 31B. So those are the enabling statute. These are yours too, yeah. So that's where we license them under that. So that's something we should talk about tonight and actually put a line item in our fees for that to make it clear. One of the other things we don't do, we'll talk about that later, is actually licensed trash haulers, but so it all comes under the same statute. Now, I have been working with David on this so far. I will volunteer to be the point of contact, but still the board has to designate me. Are you good with that?
A motion we designate you
Yeah, I'm okay
as a
with that.
point of contact. You've been working on it.
I previously stated that with the prior owners, we had a good working relationship. We both had inspected their facility.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's apparently fell through the cracks in later years. I'm okay with you.
Okay. So Gail made a motion. Are you seconding it?
I'll second.
Okay. A motion and second. Any further discussion on that? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Aye. Okay. So just to continue that discussion, the next, I will get together with David, and I think we will request an appointment to have a personal audience, personal meeting with them over there, so that now we have a face-to-face and faces put together with names instead of going back and forth. And then we'll follow it up with a written document as well. I think that's the best way to go. Hopefully we'll get on, it's just been a misunderstanding, and we'll get on the right foot. I intend to show them how to register their tank so that DEP is officially and, officially notified that they have the tank. So it seems to be something that slipped through the cracks. So, any other discussion on it? Do you have anything else, Alan?
Only that I'm disappointed in DEP when they asked us to look into it, that they didn't know it was registered. That's something they should have known then.
DEP, I don't think boards of health can really rely, except in emergency situations, on DEP being an enforcement authority. Because they're supportive of boards of health. I mean, but my experience over the long term has been only in very important issues will they act. Because they've got so many towns.
Well, they do, but they knew it was there somehow, but because of it, they got a complaint, so.
In the grand scheme of their priorities, this is not that high.
So, my impression was, part of it was, Dan is new there.
Okay.
He was out in Western Mass, now he's in Central Massachusetts. So he's getting his feet underneath him as well.
Yeah, I get it.
But he was very helpful on the phone.
No, he usually is.
Yeah, so.
Excuse me, what was Dan's name, Dan?
Karpaska?
Oh, all right, I've seen it, but.
Yes,
Okay.
okay. Anything else on that, David, you think?
No,
Okay.
I think we'll be successful in achieving.
Yeah, I think the face-to-face will help out.
That certainly will, and it really is not a big process. I think maybe it sounds like it might be overwhelming and intimidating, but I think it's once we get them directed.
Yeah, it's a matter of filling out a form.
We'll be successful.
And the planning board did look into the actual construction. That's where we got the documents to show that it was constructed properly. It's just this administrative procedure. And then the other side of that is, we want to know that it's being handled properly from now on. From the Board of Health perspective, that's what we want to know.
Right.
And we'll make sure that that happens, either through them or through the hauler or both. So, okay. All right, so we'll move on to the next item on our agenda, which I would like to be the health agent's report. So, I know that in the past, it's been kind of, we talked about informally what's been going on. And we do, almost on not a daily basis, but close to a daily basis, David and I. But I would like to see something more formal for these meetings, and we can talk more about it. But it's actually a time for us to brag a little bit as a board. The number of inspections, the type of inspections, number of construction permits, new versus repairs, number of certificates of compliance. I don't think the public knows just everything that we're doing, and it does give us an opportunity to do that, and also gives the public an opportunity to not only to understand, but to ask questions about what we're doing or why we're doing it. I know that, could you highlight the beach a little bit, David?
In fact, I did take some notes on
Excellent.
that. So far this beach season, we've done 7 beach testings. Out of the 7, 2 of them have come back where they exceeded the bacterial limits. So our requirements when we do that is to immediately retest the beach. And every time that we've retested, those 2 failed, they came back well within the guide limits. Just to put things into perspective, the total count is 235 is the limit that we cannot exceed. The first one we were at 36. The second week we were at 548. The next day we tested, we we were at 39. So it's a spread that's huge. Following that week, we had a 240 count, which is just over the limit. And then, again, the next day, we had an 8 count.
8?
8. Now, to make matters even more questionable, our most recent test this week, we were less than 1. Yeah, so, I mean, it seems like it's all over. I don't have an answer as to why, other than we do know that when we get heavy rainstorms or scouring of surface water, that's an attribution to the counts, and these high heat temperatures are also an issue. We go to the lab, like I said, once a week, sometimes twice a week. And in doing so, the lab says the same thing. I've asked them, while the beach is closing and, it's hit or miss, it's the same. Some are coming back good this week, where last week they weren't, and, retesting counts are different as well. I just don't have an answer as to why the discrepancy is so huge.
And we are testing in the same area every time.
We are testing in the public beach area. I typically go within a 10-foot one way or the other each time I'm that close.
Yeah.
It's within the buoyed area or just on the outside of the buoyed area. There's no changes in that. Like I said, 10 feet plus or minus.
How much does it cost each time?
I believe it's 45, but please don't hold me to that number, $45.
Well, I mean, I tested the beach. I personally tested the beach for years and years. And what I always did is multiple samples. I had a good deal in getting done and what it cost. But if you took 3 samples, it's 3 times $135. Then you'd never have to close the beach, in my opinion, because you wouldn't have, what you got is we're taking, it's not saying you, I mean, what the process is, we're grabbing a sample of water, or we don't know whether some bird pooped in there, or what it is, but then we're going through if we get a negative, are we closing the beach for that day?
No, we don't close until we get 2.
That's correct.
2. Well, I mean, I think we could avoid the whole thing by doing multiple samples across the beach. And
So
it's not big dollars.
But I have a question on that. So if we do, say we take 3 samples from 3 different areas, low, low, high, then what happens? Then we still have high.
Well, but, I mean, I think what you'll find, it's not the same spot. I mean, I did this for...
No, I'm just questioning what would we do if there was one
Well,
high?
if you got 2 out of 3,
You have to retest.
You have to retest, but you
Yeah.
don't have to close the beach, I don't believe.
So, as it stands now, if we have a high,
You've got to close the beach because you
not
have
until we have
nothing
2
else.
consecutives. So if we have 2 consecutives, then we close the beach. Otherwise, it could be, like I said, a false reading, or assumed to be a false reading. As long as we don't have 2 consecutives, then we're fine.
So do you go back the next day when you've had a high?
Yes.
Okay.
Anything else, Alan?
No.
Okay. Yes.
Just a question.
Can you go up and so that everybody can hear?
I'm sorry.
Even the people at home?
I know the
There's
rules.
a lot of people at home watching us, you know.
Luke, the TV. Don Brown, resident. My question is, when they take samples, I guess this is more for Dave.
Yeah.
When they take samples, do they take them like right close to shore or?
So there's requirements that we have to take the sample from. Usually it's within a depth of water and 12 inches below the surface.
Okay, so it's.
So you have to go out. You can't.
Okay.
Yeah, you have to go
Say
into the
from
water.
shore, it's gonna be probably the most contaminated.
I would think so, it's the most.
Okay, that was my question.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And David is the one that takes the samples.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
The samples are always taken and they're immediately put on ice and delivered to the lab. Sometimes I don't get to the lab. I take samples at 6:30 in the morning, sometimes it's 8:30 in the morning. If I take them early, I don't get to the lab. The lab doesn't open until 8:30. But once they're grabbed, they're put in my truck on ice.
Okay. I don't know what the protocol is, so what you're saying is you're following the protocol?
Oh, yes,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. All right. Anything else, David, you think?
As far as the beach sampling, no. No, I just don't understand or have a knowledge to why we're getting those sporadic.
The birds, I mean, we have a lot of geese down there.
So, at the beginning of the season, the lifeguards, the staff typically takes good care of any residual geese poop that's on the area of the beach. But at the beginning of the season, there was a lot of geese down there. Now there's not so much. They seem to do a good job with that. And there are people that have dogs that go on the beach that are not as respectful.
Yeah, well, dogs do not belong on the beach.
No.
That's against our bylaw. So we'll just get that out there right now.
So do we have set fines if people go on the beach with their dogs? It might be, I mean, I don't know who's, because it might not be our job to do that, but it might be a thought for
I
the
will tell
town.
you from my personal experience, because when I was involved with the Boy Scouts, sometimes we would get permission to camp down at the beach, and people would often bring their dogs onto the beach after hours, and as soon as we called the Sterling Police, they sent the cruiser down and handled it. You know, I let them handle it however they see fit.
Right, okay.
But, so, I mean, my recommendation is if somebody's down there and there's a dog on the beach, let the Sterling Police handle it, because in my experience, they've always done a good job.
Okay.
People don't like to hear it, but it is what it is. And this is one of the reasons why it is what it is. It's not for the, I'm a responsible dog owner. I pick up after my dog, but there's a lot of them that are not.
Exactly.
And you know, the most important thing is protecting the water. That's where my kids swam growing up in town, and where the kids do today, so.
It's a great resource. You know, the fact that we have public beach swim lessons there is
Oh, yeah.
valuable, valuable. And it's a great resource for what the Recreation Department does for us.
And excuse me, Sherry does a good job too of making sure
She
people
does.
move that have dogs. She pays attention to that.
Yep.
She's down there a lot.
Yeah, sometimes I feel bad for the kids who work for the recreation, because
Tough.
they try to do the right thing and people give them a hard time. And
Yes.
that's why I
They
say,
give her a hard time.
yeah. Shouldn't happen. But, so I know that we've issued, because I've been signing them, I think, at least 5 construction permits since the last meeting, and at least 2 certificates of completion since the last meeting. So just to give people heads up, but it'd be good to actually, you know, present that in the formal session like this. And then how many beach inspections and any, you know, restaurant inspection. We're not looking for details, just, you know, how many inspections have been done. Anything else, David, as far as the agent report? What do you think?
You know, like I said, Richard, you and I speak pretty regularly, and I just take for granted that, you know, I'm keeping you updated and.
Oh, yeah, you keep me updated. I want to keep everybody updated, so. Okay, so we'll go on to the next order of business then, which is 30 Princeton Road, local upgrade request, requesting a sieve analysis may be performed if a percolation test cannot be performed. Do we have a representative from 30 Princeton?
Hi.
Come on up. You can actually come right up here if you need something, if you want to show us something.
Oh, okay. I'm Kanev Lala. I represent Lala Engineers. We are 2 engineers in our company, and my partner could not make it here, Sanjay called to site again. So, but I want to explain to you that when we did the code test here, Mr. Robert Moore,
Yes,
he
yeah,
was present there.
right, he's our alternate agent, yep.
So he was present there, and he said It was the month of February, it was very wet. And he said, we won't be able to get perk test correct, you just have the C1 analysis.
Okay.
So we got the C1 analysis done. And then I did a plan which required extensive retaining wall, and I was using regular leaching field to make the slope straight and all that. So that was pretty expensive design. Then I was suggested by my installer that why don't you use the Presby systems, which is also gives you the benefit from the, and we have taken courses with Presby. I have taken, and my partner has taken this, and so we know how the Presby system works. So it gives you 2 feet of allowance, the setback from the water table instead of 4 feet. So that's the advantage, gives you adhere to do less fill. So we designed it with the Presby system, and we also did one more extra test because Presby system requires 2 tests. So we did one more test, and it was exactly the same. So we got the same test results.
From the sieve analysis?
Sieve analysis.
Okay.
So we published it. So
And
we
have you've
provided-
seen these, right? Okay.
So we were reviewed, and whatever, we had an error in using the septic tank, we just got by Title 5 1500, but you require 2000, so I changed it. So I had to check here.
That's what we don't anymore.
Not anymore, we don't.
We only require 1,000
I was
right
told,
now.
I was told to put 2000.
It was.
It was.
It was
We changed it a
recently
month ago.
changed back to
And recently, just like
1,500,
in 15,
Yeah.
just a couple of weeks or before.
a couple of weeks, yeah, well, last month. Yeah.
Anyway, this is designed with 2000, but
Okay.
if you accept it, you can write in order of conditions,
Yeah.
so 1500 is acceptable.
All we're discussing today is the sieve analysis.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So-
Everything else is
So sieve analysis very clearly shows
Yeah.
there's a lot of fines.
Okay.
And then we carry
Yeah.
the very low perk rate. And with that perk rate, whatever we wanted to provide with the number of pipes,
Right.
we made it a little bit bigger.
That's what you want to see?
No, you mentioned, what's the offset to,
Offset from the water table is 2 feet.
it's 2 feet?
So a little bit of history
Did
on
we ever
Yeah.
grant that?
A little bit of history on this. This project has been going on since February. Original design was large, it was under our old regulations. In fact, the revisions were also provided under our old regulations, which is why you have a 2,000-gallon tank. Some of the variances that have been provided here are not needed any longer. However, the local upgrade approval, the sieve analysis is needed because it doesn't meet, the state requirements. With the exception of a variance or local upgrade approval. The 2-foot, Alan, you talked about the 2-foot offset to groundwater. Presby, through their approval of the state, has granted and allows a 2-foot offset to groundwater. It is a state, there's not a variance needed on this. We have only issued one in history variance to 2-foot offset to groundwater. And I don't even remember the exact address off the top of my head. For some reason, I want to say it was a Haywood Road address, but don't hold me to that. But otherwise, we've been petitioned for them, but never granted them. So you've got one out there that's been granted, and it is allowed under Presby's approval from the state.
And with Presby, you don't need a variance.
That's
That's
correct.
what you're saying?
That's correct.
Okay.
How does it operate differently how does it operate differently, just?
Oh, that's
Pipe
that's
is a 12-inch pipe.
a whole class.
And it has got a very big felt around it, which itself is a septic system.
Okay.
Every pipe itself, its bacteria generates around it, and everything, effluent goes into it, got eaten up right there,
Okay.
before even it leaves the pipe.
Okay.
It's a very good system. We have seen many projects done with it, especially in a very heavy traffic areas like McDonald's and all.
Yeah.
So what's on the table right now is the variance, the local upgrade request for the sieve analysis, which is,
Yeah.
it's a pretty routine
Yes.
thing. Get into this afterwards, but, so, any other comments or questions from the board? David?
I have none.
Okay, and we don't have any abutters here or anything, so.
What if we're notified?
Elaine, do you have a comment or question?
But I am in a butter, but no questions.
If you have any question, I will be happy to.
So, do I have a motion to approve the local upgrade request for a sieve analysis for 30 Princeton Road?
And the sieve analysis looked good to you?
Oh, yes, it's very traditional.
Okay.
The lab does the sieve analysis, they analyze the soils to determine what load rating is going to be classified here. It's very straightforward.
Okay, all right, I moved to
May I
accept
have a
it.
motion? Alan seconds?
No, I didn't.
Oh.
I was motioning, you got a second. You
What?
seconded.
You want me to second?
Yes.
Okay, it's unusual, but I'll second it. Okay. We have a motion and second. Any further discussion?
Who made the motion? Gail?
Gail made the motion, Lane made the second,
Thank you.
the request of Mr. Hoffman. So, no further discussion. All those in favor of granting the local upgrade request?
Aye.
Aye, unanimous. Okay. So you are all set?
So you'll send us your approval and the order of conditions?
There's no order of conditions.
Yeah.
You will get a copy after the permit has been signed. You'll get a copy emailed to you.
So
within a
we
week
don't-
or so we can apply for installer's permit. Installer can come and get a
Yes,
additional permit.
yes. Yeah, there's no, we don't write out order of conditions.
Oh, that's good.
That's the Conservation
So
Commission.
as soon as you have approval on,
We approved the local upgrade
Yeah.
request. Now, since we've approved it as a board,
Yeah.
you can come in and request your construction permit.
okay, that installer will do.
The,
The one who is gonna dig holes.
well, whoever,
Yeah.
yeah, he has to have an installer's permit. That's a
Yeah, he
separate,
has an installer's license, yeah,
yeah, for Sterling.
yeah.
Okay. He can come in and request,
So can he come next week sometimes?
yes, anytime the office is open.
Oh, okay, all right, that's all we wanted
That's
to
it?
know.
Yep.
Thank you very much.
Yeah,
Very,
okay.
very,
Good luck.
very good. Thank you. Very nice. Thank you, great office.
You too. I have a question on that. Do we require for local upgrade requests them to fill out Form 9A?
Yes, we do.
Okay.
And in fact, I believe that's in here, Rich. But,
All right.
we do require that, yeah.
All right.
But
So it may help in the future to have a copy of that in our books. Okay? Just, because it makes it clearer for me, because the information provided in there would be good to see. I don't have any issue with this, this particular one, obviously, because we just approved it, but would be good to read it ahead of time, so. Okay, so we're gonna go on to the next order of business, which is, we've recently had some consultation with the Department of Public Health, where we had what is called a cluster of cryptosporidiosis. And I'm not going to keep saying it because it's difficult, but this is a disease of the bowel. It's caused by a parasite, Cryptosporidium. It is, the symptoms are watery diarrhea, cramps, nausea, vomiting, headache, mild fever. Now, it's very important for people to understand that when the hospital or a doctor has finds that someone has this disease, they have to report it to the Department of Public Health. And I used the word cluster earlier, which in my mind, when I first heard that word cluster from the Department of Public Health, I'm thinking a lot. However, a cluster is two. So, and that is what we've had. We haven't had any more since I've spoken to you.
none confirmed, no.
Okay, so we've had two confirmed diagnosis of cryptosporidiosis. Okay, so it's two. Cluster sounds scary, but it's two people And this was, this was last week, right?
Well, last week was when we were notified, but the individuals, the process was a few weeks in advance of that.
Okay. And we haven't had any since, so it's not something that people need to panic about. We definitely want to get that message out. Everything is being done properly and correctly. The parasite, it's found in stool, so it's in feces. Infected humans, animals, wild animals, cattle, basically mammals, oh, and birds, right? Is it, I'm not sure if it's in birds, but, so do you know?
I don't know.
Okay, but this is the document from the Department of Public Health, and it says, infected humans, domestic animals, especially cattle, and wild animals. So, and the infection occurs after the parasite is swallowed, so it's a fecal-oral spread. So you gotta think about what's going on. Anyone can get this infection. It's diagnosed through a stool sample. And as we've heard over time and time again over the last few years, the best way to protect yourself from this disease is to wash your hands. And to wash your hands for the correct amount of time with soap and water. A lot of people carry around the alcohol-based cleansing solutions. Doesn't kill all the germs, and it'll actually say that. I've read it on a lot of the packaging. You know, it's like it kills 99%, like Lysol kills 99%. So the best way is to wash your hands. Anytime that you think that you might have had contact with anything where poop may have been, you want to wash your hands. Wash them long, wash them thoroughly, and wash them with soap and warm water. Don't swim in pools or lakes if you have diarrhea. It's kind of scary that you have to say that to people, but you know, that's how it spreads. So think about it, if somebody was sick and they were swimming near you in a pool, your face is in there, you could get it on your lips and you could get sick. So this happened in town, we want to bring it to people's attention. We also want to bring it to their attention that it was handled properly, it was handled quickly, and it stayed at that minimum cluster level of 2, as far as we know. Anything else you want to add to that, David?
No, I mean, I think you summarized it all very, very well. Cryptosporidium can also be spread through lakes. And if it's spread in the water and it gets on someone's lips, it doesn't necessarily need to be ingested, but if it's on their lips, they can contact it that way. And you know, you mentioned about swimming pools and so forth. If an individual has been diagnosed with crypto and they don't wait the proper amount of time, greater than 10 days before they go into a pool, even though they're diarrhea-free, it's still contagious that way. So, you know, it's important, whether you know that you've been contaminated with crypto or not, that you still not go into swimming pools or lakes or otherwise.
And if you've been diagnosed, they're going to give you, the hospital or the doctor will tell you what you should be and should not be doing. The main question that I had when David told me this was, my question is, were they in the food service industry? And the answer was no. They did not deal with food service. So that's huge in my opinion. So, anything else? Gail?
No, I'm assuming it's treatable.
Yes.
People get it, okay.
Well, basically, the treatment is time. Your body takes care of it.
Oh, it's time, there isn't a
Yes.
treatment they give you to kill a parasite.
I thought I did read, so someplace there was a specific, other than additional hydration, I thought there was some treatment. I know I read that someplace, I don't know exactly what it was.
All right, anything else?
Okay, so, you know, again, fluid rehydration and lipromamide is a treatment. I'm not pronouncing that properly, but that is a treatment.
Treatment will come from the doctor.
Yes, it will.
I just want to make sure it's
Yeah.
treatable, that's all.
Oh, yes. You know, it says, some people might not have any symptoms at all. The symptoms usually go away on their own in about 1 to 20 days. That's a huge spread of time, but I've read other things that said about a week, you know. We've all heard that over the past few years, everything goes away in about a week. So, but wash your hands, be conscious of what you're doing, and that's really about it. We just felt it was important to mention it because it is public information and we want people to get the right information from us.
You know, Richie, I would like to add one last thing. You talked about informing the public of the things that this department does specifically, and how this was brought to our attention was this is a communicable disease. So MAVEN is the state network that documents all this through the doctor's office, through the network, and then through an epidemiologist, and then we would pick up on that. So Fitchburg Nursing, who's our epidemiologist, is the one who contacted us immediately. Once she learned that they had a cluster, 2 or more, but in this case it was just 2, we were notified, and then we just kind of, they do the investigation on the patients, and we just kind of work it out. But again, that's how we were informed of this, through the nursing side of Board of Health.
Okay, so anyone else? Anyone have questions or comments? Okay. So, seeing that there are none, we're going to go on to the next item on our agenda, which is to review and potentially revise our table of fees for the Board of Health Services.
Can I make a motion that we just go over the septic fees for tonight and review the others later?
I don't have any issue with that. Al?
No, I'm okay either way. I
So-
mean, sooner or later, we should do them all.
Oh, yeah, no, I think we
Yes.
should do the next one next
I
month. I
agree.
just haven't had time to do a spreadsheet on the rest. I kind of like to look at it all.
I think that's actually a good way to do it because there's a lot of fees there.
But if Elaine's got a spreadsheet, I don't have to do it.
I do have it.
Yep, it's good.
Now, I can also do some reviewing as well.
Okay, that'd be great. So we'll focus on the septic system fees. And I'm sad to admit, but I have not done enough homework on this to talk about it, so. Gail, do you have?
Okay, I gave you guys all the spreadsheet, and it looks like, I'll just go down line item by line item, if that's okay. Septic installer license, we're 100, West Boylston's 200, Westminster's 125, and Princeton and Holden are 100. So we're in line. I don't think we need to change it. There's 2 other towns the same. We're competitive. I mean, I think the most important thing is we want to be competitive and we want to make sure people want to do business in here, in the town. Septic haulers permit. We're $150 plus $50 a truck. Nobody else charges per truck. There's a set fee. West Boylston has the highest, which is 200, but everybody else has 100. So I kind of would like to, I think we should go to 150 and no extra truck fee. Because nobody else charges an extra truck fee, that, at least online. I mean, if you want to wait and I can make some calls, I can do that, but nobody else has an extra truck fee per septic hauler.
Well, when you got each, correct me if I'm wrong on this, where we issue permits from septic haulers, many of the haulers have multiple trucks, right, David? Large numbers of trucks.
I mean, there's a company that has a substantial amount of trucks. So, you know, part of our regulations require looking at their registrations and so forth.
Yeah, at each
So-
truck.
You're right. So, however you want to handle that, it's, you know, but without providing names of the companies, I think, you know, there's one company out there that's got a fair amount of trucks.
So I mean, if we're gonna, and do we inspect the truck?
We haven't inspected the trucks, no.
This gives us the ability to.
Do we give stickers to the trucks?
We don't.
I mean, I just want to make it clear that there is a company, well, there are companies that have multiple trucks. And indeed, one company has a large number of trucks. So we've got to keep track of those records, regardless whether we do an inspection. So
Right.
I tend to support leaving it the way it is, because
Yeah,
it's not, when we think of haulers, we think of people in town who are haulers, and we think of, hey, it's a family business or it's a small business. We have a case where it's not a small business. And we have to be on our records.
each truck they use in our town would have to be, we would have to have their paperwork, that's by the regulation says that. However, I have talked to other towns on the septic haulers permits,
Oh, good.
and this is really the only thing that I've talked to other towns, and I haven't found another town that charges per truck. Matter of fact, most of the towns that I spoke to didn't even collect the information that we collect, and I'm not advocating that we don't collect the information, but they say that's what the regulation says, they have to have it, but it doesn't say that we have to maintain it. That aside, because I don't make all my decisions by what other towns do, our town will make our own decision, but I don't understand why we charge per truck.
Well, we have to issue them a license per truck, right?
We do issue a license, and they're required to have that license along with their registration. in each vehicle.
Registration, so we're generating a piece of paper for each truck. And in at least one case, there's a lot of trucks.
Again, I think, that company has between 8 and 10 trucks.
Yeah.
So maybe the $50 adds up a lot. Whereas other companies have 2 trucks and there's your $200. However the board
Well,
wants to
I mean,
manage that.
I would propose, I have no problem if a company has 2 trucks, that we charge them $150. But I think because we're obligated to do something for companies that have multiple trucks, we have to maintain records, it has to plow through our office. I mean, it's a service, we're providing that service. So I mean, I would be amenable to $150 plus $50 per truck over 2. But I don't think it's fair to have a flat rate for someone who's got a lot of trucks. I mean, a very conservative.
Well, other towns, they issue them the permit. The company makes copies of the permit, because the permit is issued to the company, and they are required to, provide the registrations of the trucks to the town.
Yeah, that's right. As I say, I don't have any problem saying $150 for 2 trucks, but $50 for any number above that. Because there is an expense to us in our record keeping.
Yeah, but I think it might be a stretch, Alan, to say that it costs us $50 per truck for record keeping. All they're doing is providing us with a copy of the registration and some specific other information.
And we're
but-
signing a permit and giving it back.
I mean, is it considered of the board that they would change the fee to $200, still maintaining a competitiveness with other towns, and then, up to,
I'd be
And then no
agreeable to
extra fees per
$200. Yeah, because they can have
I mean,
any number of
It
trucks.
hits the little guy, but it.
right, I think, Rich, to your point, where it's a stretch that we're charging the $50, but it's hard to justify that administrative cost when you have 8 pieces and, or 10 additional pieces. I think, a flat
I
rate.
mean, I would be leaning towards just going with $150 per company and because again, we want to, I'm not going to base my decision on what other towns do, although that is a piece of my decision, because we want to remain competitive. And everybody has to remember that the company's not paying this $150. It's the people in town that are getting their septic pumps that are paying the 150 plus 50, you know, because the company's not going to lose money. So, I mean, I was here in a meeting and someone was sitting in the front row and said, this is a tax on me. And you know, and I agree with that. Our fees are a tax on the people in Sterling.
And if we make it prohibitive, other people aren't going to sign up with the 8 trucks and they just won't come to Sterling. And we want the people of Sterling to be able to be competitive and get competitive prices to get this.
And that's why
That's the other side of it.
I would lean to, you know, I'd like to go to 100, but I don't know if that's,
I'm okay with 150. I know 4 of the 5 that I looked at were 100 and one was 200. So I think we're in the middle, which is okay. And I just think that in order to stay competitive, we can't charge per truck. Nobody else, I mean, and not that we can't do something nobody else does, but if you have a business and you get charged more in this town than this town, you're not going to come to this town. You're going to go to that town. Even so, the person, and you might charge less per septic pump, but you're still not going to go to this town because I'm not going to pay those fees. And we don't want to set that up. We want to make Sterling a town that's got healthy invitation to business to come in and also healthy to have competition for the people when you're getting, if you get, I know a lot of times, well, I don't need more, but I used to get 3 estimates any time I was doing something. So, I mean, I've had people tell me they won't pump at Sterling.
No, I'll get it off there soon. I'll move that we charge $150 for a registration fee, which can include up to 2 trucks, and $50 per truck after 2. Not raising, see if we get a second.
I personally, I'm not going to second that. I don't like the per truck thing. Because again, other towns aren't doing it, but I think it diminishes the competitiveness. So I like the $150 fee. I mean, I'm against fees. I would go down to 100, but I mean, I'd be amenable to a $150 fee. That seems to be what my colleagues are looking at. The question now is per truck. I haven't found anyone that does per truck. And I don't think the additional record keeping is all that much. But really, it's one file folder and you know, a piece of paper for the truck.
And not only, you know, they also have to pay other fees for the septic haulers for where they haul the sewage to. I know in Millbury, because we had a sewage collection and we had a mill abrader, we had to get stickers for every single truck. And that was but every truck got inspected and everything. I mean, it was a full deal. We're not doing that.
Yes,
Mr. Lee, on the note about,
Joe, please.
Joseph King,
Thank you.
Sterling resident, Vice Chair of the Finance Committee, discussing fee reductions. I want to ask a clarifying question on the competitive nature of the discussion going on
Yeah.
here. Isn't everybody operating on an equal footing that has to do this in Sterling? So regardless if it's a West Boylston company doing pumping in Sterling, they're paying you the same fee, correct?
That is correct. However, do they want to come into Sterling if our fees are greater than everybody else's? Because it cuts down on, either they apply that fee to their customer, because they're not paying the fee, or they decide not to come to Sterling.
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah.
But somebody will be operating in Sterling here. And I think right now there are multiples, right?
Right.
So they're all operating on the same basis, because your fees are your fees. If you want to do it in Sterling, you pay the fee.
Well, that's true of everything, yes. I readily admit I would remove all fees if I could. And I know the finance committee doesn't want to hear that,
The Finance Committee does not want to hear reduction of fees that are defraying operating costs of the department.
but understood.
Enough said.
So I'm gonna make a motion that we go with $150 for the septic hauler's permit as a one, just the one fee of $150 per company for a septic hauler.
I'll second.
Okay, any further discussion?
No, I said my piece.
So, no further discussion. All those in favor?
Hassett, aye.
Lane, aye.
Hoffman, no.
Hoffman, no. Okay. So the ayes have it. The next thing that we have to discuss is when that fee becomes active. When do our fees how does that work right now?
Calendar year, all of our fees, our licenses, Now, if tomorrow, if next week, a contractor wants to get a license that's not been, how will we handle that?
Okay, and that's why I brought it up, because I would like to propose that we make this effective January 1st. And the reason I'm proposing that is to make it at least fair for all the haulers for this rest of this calendar year. So up until December 31st, if someone wants a septic hauler's permit, it would be $150 plus $50 for each additional truck. That's what I am proposing, so that, because we are in the middle of the calendar year and most of our permits are issued by the calendar year. So again, in a spirit of fairness, that's what I would suggest.
It's okay with me.
No, I agree.
Okay.
I motion to, it's effective January 1st.
A second.
Okay, motion is second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, it's unanimous. So that's December 31st,
And this is
January
for all the
1st.
changes we discussed right now. Is that correct?
We
Or
can,
just
we can
that
make
one?
that motion. I would agree with that as well.
Well, let me go through them and think about it as we go through them. I'll motion at the end.
If
Okay.
I could just add, as a simplistic matter, with these septic system fees, that we do this for the January 1st, 2025.
Okay.
And then we also will be changing at some point in the future here, the other fees. I would suggest that we do them all effective January 1st.
Well, we may add fees.
That's fine.
Right. And the finance
Is that
committee
good
will love
news,
it.
Joe?
At the end of the discussion,
Up at the podium.
at the end of the discussion, I'll make that motion again, okay?
Yep.
So, and again, tonight's discussion, we're limiting to septic system fees. So, septic installer's exam,
Yeah, you see this, we're 50, and the only other one that had it online was Westminster, and it was 100. And is it $50 every time they take the test? If they fail it, they have to take it again, we recharge them $50, right?
Yes.
Okay.
is it online?
No. What I'm saying is they didn't have other towns.
Oh,
the
they
other
didn't have
towns
their-
didn't have their
okay.
fee online for a
Gotcha.
test. Maybe they have one, but they didn't have it
Okay.
online. So any thoughts on that one, or?
I'm good with it the way it is.
And the soil test new lot, we're 340, and we're right in the middle of everybody. West Boylston's 400, Westminster's 250, Boylston's 250, and Holton's 300, so I'm okay with where we're at there.
I have no problem with it.
Okay, and same with the existing dwelling, we're right in the middle of everybody, so I'm good with doing that.
Well, what is the
We're 300, West Boylston,
For the existing dwelling is,
hold on, the existing dwelling, we're 300, West Boylston's 400, Westminster's 250, Boylston's 150, and Holden is 300.
is that for when we're putting in a new leach field? Because the leach field failed?
For existing home.
For an existing home, it's already, it's not a new.
Okay, all right.
And then septic system construction, we're 150, West Boylston's 150, Westminster's 100, Boylston's 100, Princeton's 125, and Holden's 125. Just stay at the 150. I'm okay with that. I mean, we're not out of the ballpark.
Alan?
I'm okay.
Okay.
Okay, then the plan and review, it gets interesting. We're 350, West Boylston's 750, Westminster's 350, Boylston's 450, and Holden's 350. We could go up on that if we wanted to, and we'd still be competitive.
Thoughts, Alan?
Well, it's not too far off the way it is. We could go up to 400
Yeah.
and kind of be in the mid-range. It is something that costs us money. And I could support going to 400.
I agree. When I moved to raise a fee to 400 for the septic system plan review and construction.
Can I make a suggestion?
Sure.
Can we talk about the additional permit fees in that category? Because they're all kind of connected. The permit fee for the 4,000 and any additional 1,000 gallons over 4,000.
Okay, so, but do you have a problem with the 400 on that particular line item? Or you just want,
Making
you want
the
to put them
motion.
together? You want
Yeah.
to put them together, is what you're saying?
Well, I was going to talk about all three of them. If you're going to change the
Okay.
others, we'll make it one motion. That was
Okay.
my suggestion.
Okay, well, we can talk about the others before we make a motion.
Well, why don't we talk about them one on one? I mean,
All right, that's fine.
We've
So-
got, two of us appear to say 400.
Right, so right now, we have a motion on the table to raise septic system plan and review and construction permit from 350 to 400. Do I have a second? Okay, I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Nay. Ayes have it. Okay, so we'll go on to the next one, permit fee, septic system plan and review, construction permit.
Permit fee for additional 2,000 to 4,000 gallon, nobody had any additional fees that I could see. And that is something I actually would like to call them and find out if they actually have them and they're not online, because nobody had that anywhere online. And I don't know if we're the only ones being transparent about it, or we're the only ones that have it.
I would think that they do. So you
That's
might
what I
have to
think.
make phone calls. So, David, can you educate us a little bit as to what type of system would have 2,000 to 4,000 gallons a day?
So large systems typically for shared systems specifically with that. Once you exceed 10,000 gallons per day,
You state.
yeah, that's right.
And schools and also the state.
So depending on what type of a shared system you would have, bedroom counts exceeding the gallons per day that's required would drive that cost. Cluster development, things of that nature. They become a little bit more involved. Some have groundwater mounting calculations that need extensive review.
Yeah, and I would say it's more than a little bit more involvement when you get to a system like that.
Okay.
Yeah, do we have any systems like that in town?
So just to put things into perspective, they believe it's Patriots Way or Patriots Place.
Yeah.
That was one of those. We have had Millie's Way, that was a larger system, new development. We have had, we've had a couple of them around, I'm drawing a blank to the others, but yes.
And I'm,
They may be called something else than the other ones. Sometimes I had it was taking guesses, like they had the plan review and the construction permit. I would just put them together because,
Sure, sure.
is it possible in situations like that where we may have to bring in a
Yes,
consultant?
Yes, absolutely.
So there's where the fees and why the fees. Those systems are very complicated.
so how much is a consultant to bring in?
They're all based individually.
Okay, so do we want to have a caveat in the fee based on consulting fee? Because we want to make sure we get enough to pay the consultant, because we shouldn't pay any overage for the consultant.
I think general law speaks to the fact that we can choose a consultant. We have the authority to choose a consultant for review. And I don't know if it's a cost plus or if it's just a cost pass-through. I don't know that process. Alan, maybe you recall, this is going back in time, we've had consultants specific to the nursing home.
Oh, yeah.
For their construction.
They pay, they're still paying.
Oh, yes.
That's a package plant. The contract is with the town, but it's immediately reimbursed by the owner. Yeah, I mean, this is high tech, this is out beyond.
I just don't know, and I'm sure if we dug into this a little bit, we'd learn, with specifics, there was a cost, was it a cost plus? I don't know if it was cost plus 10%.
Well, what was agreed to is the monitoring by a consultant. And the agreement was that the town would be billed, but the owner will pay the bill. Or, I'm not sure what the detail of the financial transaction, but basically it's zero cost to the town. And, things like that, well beyond what any employee could do.
Can I make a recommendation that we table these two items and we do some more research and request that Gail do the research?
No, I'll work with you, Dave, because
Yeah.
there's other things they're going to call it. And I got to know what I'm talking about. In order to ask the right questions.
We really, when we're doing this, we need to know what we're
Right.
doing. And, to the finance committee's perspective, we want to make sure that the town isn't paying for one of these big systems. Whoever's putting it in should be paying for it.
Right.
From start to finish. And if that means the town needs to hire a consultant, then they should have to pay for the consultant. And I know the planning board has mechanisms for that, so maybe we should look into what our,
And I think we should get a fee as well as, there still should be a fee coming into
I
the town
agree.
as well as
Exactly,
them paying for the
exactly.
it would be a
consultant.
base fee plus consulting.
Right.
Yes.
Yes, because these larger systems, they eat up time from town employees. And we ought to set, and that's really how we should set the fee. I don't think it's difficult to get the consultant fee.
So let's just do this correctly. I'll make a motion to table those two items until
I second
a
it.
further meeting.
Yeah.
A second.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Just did it, all. Unanimous. System reinspection fee.
We're 100, Princeton 75. Nobody actually tabled it. I'm not so sure that they don't have it, but it wasn't online. But I don't have a problem with the because are we doing a Title V inspection anymore? I'm not sure if David is doing it.
We're not there yet.
Okay.
We're a system reinspection, right? System reinspection.
Oh,
What
okay.
does that consist of?
So when we go out to do an inspection of a septic system, someone's installed a septic system or components of a septic system, and we go out and there's not compliance being met, something's not right. The contractor's not there, we'll stop in and do the inspection, or even if the contractor's there and something's not right, and they can't fix it while we're there, we will have to come back and verify that it's been corrected, compliance has been met. At that point is where we charge a reinspection fee.
If I might add, it might be that they expected to have the work done,
Oh,
but
yes,
didn't get it done.
we would be notified that.
The town employee has to come back a second time.
And typically, these fees, this specific reinspection fee is to the licensed installer, not the resident.
Well, do they let you know when they're ready for the inspection, so you can, okay, so if you go out, it's not usually the case that if they're not ready for the inspection, that you're charging them for that, okay, all right, I just want to make sure there's some communication there, okay.
Yeah, they will call and schedule an inspection,
No, that's all.
saying, we're at this stage.
Yeah.
And if the inspector goes out and they're not at that stage, then there's the fee to come back when they are actually there.
And does that happen? They say they're at a stage and they're not?
And in all due fairness, I mean, I'll be the first to say that I'm somewhat lenient. We're not here to nickel and dime people, installers specifically. You know, there's a lot of leniency. But when it's repetitive, then it becomes an issue.
Yep.
And then it becomes a fee.
Right.
And I would like to just add, I don't have any problem with that, but I would like to add that if it is repetitive, I would like that brought to this board.
Certainly.
Right.
Because then we discuss whether they should have an installer's permit.
This is true.
In this town, yeah, exactly.
Because there should be fairness on both sides. We're fair, and they need to be fair to us as well. And if our employees are being yo-yos, that's not fair, so.
Yeah.
So is the consensus, we leave that at 100, okay? And then the very last is the Title V inspection fee. But I think it would be appropriate to rename that Title V review fee. Because now, we're not requiring David to go out to a Title V inspection. However, we do need to review each of the Title V forms when they come in. And that does take some time. But I'm not sure should be $100 fee. I would suggest a $50 fee. I know FinCom doesn't want to hear that, but that's, again, the Title V inspector isn't paying that. It's the homeowner that's paying that. So, discussion. I don't know what other towns, I haven't,
Princeton's the only one that published the inspection fee, and that was 75.
does Princeton send the agent out to the site?
I don't know.
Well, that's why.
They had the fee on it, the inspection fee, so.
David is saying, yes, they do.
Oh, they do.
So,
Okay.
so that's why they have an inspector's fee. I'd be interested to know what other towns that don't do the Title V, have their agent go to the Title V inspection.
So Boylston probably doesn't. West Boylston probably doesn't go, and there was no fee there. And I can check with them.
West Boylston's mainly sewers.
Huh?
West Boylston has a lot of sewers.
Yeah,
I mean, it's not.
they have a sewer system as well as
Oh, okay.
septic systems. It's a 14-page form, am I correct?
It's 17.
Okay.
In pictures.
Somebody's got to read it.
What are your thoughts?
How many of these do we do a year?
I could pull up a spreadsheet in a minute.
I mean, just a ballpark number.
I think we could probably say 50 would be an easy number.
50? Okay, so we should be getting a fee for that.
Oh, I agree, we should get a fee for it. Just the question is, what is the fee to review the Title V form?
Well, other things that you got on the list is making sure that, which is a good idea, that making sure every line in the Title V form is complete
Right.
and correct.
DEP highly suggested that.
And
That's why.
correct. And so it's not going to, that means that the review will be more extensive than it has been in the past. I mean, I've seen these, they write down, the form's not, they write the information, but not in the form
Can
that,
I make a recommendation?
yeah?
Of course I can. That we change that title right now to Title V review fee.
Yes.
We leave the fee at $100 for at least for the rest of the year. And then we can revisit it in December to see just how much time it's taking our agent or our associate agent to review them. Because that's really what we're trying to recoup that time, right?
Yeah.
So,
Maybe
I move that we keep it 100 and change the title to review and check it later.
okay, there's a motion on the
My
table for
motion.
that.
to leave it the same?
The fee will be the same, but we have to change the title to review. Because they're just reviewing it now, they're not doing the inspection.
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
So,
But I think we've got to be really careful on this, because I think it may be taking us more time.
well, that's why we have 6 months to evaluate,
Yeah,
right?
okay,
I think that's reasonable. Okay, so you're seconding the motion?
yeah, so-
Okay, Alan seconds. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of that?
Aye.
all right.
Aye.
Joe's still happy.
For now,
Give him a minute.
okay.
Okay, next line item is private well
I
construction.
thought we were just doing septic system fees. You
Oh, it
requested
was
it.
under, yeah, I did, okay, then I'll skip all the well stuff. And
Okay.
okay, there is a type 5, okay, so, okay, so somebody else, so you know how we had the reinspection fee? Somebody else, Boylston has a reinspection fee of 150 and Holden had inspection of 100. So they just call this something different. And it was interesting that West Boylston has a Title V report filing fee of $50. I thought that was very interesting.
That's the review fee.
Okay, but they're calling it report filing, and I thought that
Right.
was very interesting.
But by regulation, they have to review it, so and they're filing, we would have to file it too. We have to keep them forever, so.
Right.
People, different towns are gonna call things different things,
Right, exactly.
unfortunately.
Here's our list. Okay, so if you look on the perk test, do we have a perk test application?
That's soil evaluation is the.
We call it soil evaluation, okay.
That's actually more accurate description. Perk test is the older
Okay.
reference.
Okay, so if the SAS is a revisions to the septic, do we have do we have a fee to revise a septic plan?
There's no fee to revise as the, earlier this evening, Princeton Road address that came in, they made revisions to the plans, amendments to the plan. There's no fee for that.
Okay.
Our differences are soil evaluations, which would include perk test and deep observation hole, would be for new construction or an existing dwelling. And the reason is for that is new construction requires more evaluation, deep observation holes, and multiple perk tests, whereas an existing dwelling only requires half of that. 2 deeps are required at a minimum, and 1 singular perk test is required, or a sieve analysis. But new construction, you have multiple perks and at a minimum 4, because you have to calculate for the reserve area.
Okay. And do we have a Title V abandonment fee?
We do not. We have a form for it, but there's no fee associated to it.
So West Boylston and Westminster are both 150 and Holden is 75. I think we should have a fee. I know you don't, I know.
I don't understand why we would need a fee.
Well, because they have to, again, the plans for filling in has to still be reviewed by the health agent. Am I wrong? At least that's what I witnessed.
We would go out to a site to verify that the septic tank has been properly abandoned.
Has to be filled with seed.
But there's no plans associated with that. The contractor would locate a component, the septic tank, make sure that the bottom is ruptured so that it wouldn't retain water and fill in properly.
Then they fill it with sand, right, or remove it? Right? Okay, so I think we should have a fee for that. And we don't have that many, I'm sure. How many, you think?
When they
Well, you have some failed septic system. you have
created
to remove
the septic system for the Campground Association, we had a large amount over a period of years, proper abandonment, which we did witness and we document. We held on to those records. We don't get a lot now.
it. Okay. I think you should have a fee for that. And I'd go in the middle, I'd go 100.
Yeah, I would think 100. I don't think, I think 150 is a lot.
I do too.
But, I mean, you have to do it because you're gonna make sure that the structures are broken up. You're gonna make sure the piping's not problematic for future development on the lot. I mean, there's time.
Yeah.
There's time.
Okay, so
I move that we add the fee of $100 for a Title V abandonment. for a
I'll
septic
second that.
okay. A motion and a second. Any further discussion on that? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Nay.
So I'm going to ask a very ignorant question next. What is nitrogen loading plan review? The only one that had it was Westminster, and I have no idea.
So typically when you have, you can only apply 440 gallons of sewage per acre. This is the short version. If you have less than an acre and you have a 4-bedroom or something greater, then you have to have a reduction here. You can't apply that unless you have, you know, the available land. We talked about, there's an address in town that we had to get this land credits for because they didn't have it. They were in an aquifer district, they didn't have the volume of land. So they had to get land credits in the same district someplace else. Fortunate they were successful. Leominster Road, it's the medical facility down here specifically. So that would apply, but we don't charge for that.
So what does it involve of us when they have to do that?
So it is a calculation, it's a review, it's a whole different review other than just your septic system plan review.
So how much time does it take you?
Again, it depends on a lot of different things. We have to-
Half hour to 5 hours, whatever, I don't know.
Sure,
Yes.
it could take more than a half an hour.
Right, that's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking it's going to take more than a half hour, but I'm just trying to get you to give a guesstimate, roundabout, you know, a range.
A couple of hours perhaps in total.
Okay.
I mean, but
Does this overlap
it does, that would overlap, Rich, correct.
with the septic system plan review for additional 2,000?
Okay, so that's in the septic sand review, but, okay, all right. Okay.
You don't want to,
Double dip.
yeah,
Okay, I'm good for leaving it.
okay. In essence, we are doing this, you know, when something like, when you have a system that size, and I think after we do our research, we're gonna build in that that's not gonna cost the town anything. We may actually wind up hiring an engineer or someone to do that review, you know, with the pass-through fee. That's my thought. Alan?
Well, I think some of this has in subdivision planning, I'm not an expert on this, but it is it can be viewed as something that could be a pass-through. I don't know.
It
It can take time, that's what you were saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it can
Oh.
take time.
Take a lot of time.
Yeah.
But it,
But I think the way to handle it would be, you know, within what we tabled earlier, And we can even put a note in there that if there needs to be a specific nitrogen loading plan review, that is reviewed by a consultant and the customer pays that
That's
consulting
fee,
fee.
okay,
Again, but, so we've tabled that, so.
yeah. okay.
Anything else?
No, that's all I got.
I got a question on perk test validation. What is that, David?
I have no idea. It's for Westminster, I'm assuming maybe what'd you call that? I don't know.
I don't know what that validation
Is that just obtaining the records, the public records?
Yeah, I don't know, I'd have to call the town and ask them what that.
That's only
wording meant.
Westminster that
That's
does
Westminster, that had nothing to do with
You
us.
see a column going down,
Yeah,
this
no,
is
I
75, but.
can read
I don't
that.
know, it was one of the charges on their fee schedule, so just kind of threw them all in there.
Be interesting to find out what that is.
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't know.
I've talked to Westminster several times, so I can call them and ask them what that exactly means.
Yeah, I talked to them a long time ago, but.
Yeah. I think it would probably have something to do with the soil testing. But,
Yeah,
I mean, I'll call and ask. Certainly can't charge for it if we don't know what it is.
no, and I'm not looking to charge for it, it was
Okay.
just something, so I don't
I'm
even,
just
I'm not
checking.
looking to charge for it.
Checking. All right,
Well, you try to kind of balance the scales, you take some away, you put
I
some in.
understand. I know we kind of limited ourselves to septic system fees, but I would want to take one step back, and I would like to, in the other column, add an industrial wastewater hauler fee, so that as we're dealing with not only, what is it, acreage
Yep.
right now, but there is currently another industrial wastewater tank being installed in town. We were made aware of that in our discussion with DEP. So I think it's something that we need to put on the books sooner rather than later.
Yep,
And I would like to suggest that we make that fee the same as a septic hauler's fee.
and we could put septic wastewater in, hauler.
No, industrial wastewater hauler. It should be pretty specific, I think.
Okay. You don't want to just put septic, industrial wastewater hauler on the same line, slash? and that
I would
way you're
suggest not
adding-
doing
You're just
that.
adding a
Yeah,
title.
That's.
I would like to keep it separate just for clarity,
Okay.
especially with what we're experiencing.
Okay, and we want to do the same amount, 150?
That would be my recommendation.
Okay. I move that we add industrial wastewater hauler for $150, but immediately, not at the end of the year.
I'll second.
Okay? I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on that?
No?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
As a point of clarity,
Yep.
if the same company wants to haul industrial wastewater and septic, they're going to get two different fees, two different permits.
Yes. That would be my answer to that,
Yeah,
yes. Because it's a separate record.
Well, don't they have to tell us that the wastewater is much more important where they're dumping it? I mean, not that the septic isn't,
It's
but,
important to the person, to the facility who's receiving it.
right.
Not so much to us, but to the facility that's receiving it.
So how do we know, I know this is not a question in not regard to this, but how do we know when a septic company removes septic, empties a septic system? How do we know where they dump it?
It's on their hauler's permit.
It's on the
Oh, okay.
thing they submit.
So
Okay.
within 14 days of pumping, and Title V calls this out, within 14 days of pumping, the hauler is required to submit pumping records. The pumping records specify where it was discharged. And they also they specify the volume of gallons that was retained.
And when they apply for the permit, they have to show their contract with a receiving facility. So they have to show us they have to show that the vehicle's registered, and they have to show us their contract.
Okay.
Okay?
Yep.
Should we move on?
Yes.
I think so. Okay, so we will handle we've tabled the other items, inspection fees, but we will continue to review those as we should. I will recognize you, Mr. King.
Thank you, Mr. Lane. Joseph King, Sterling resident, Vice Chair of the Finance Committee. Can I respectfully ask that when you get through this process, which is probably a multi-night process, that you bring the summary results of the proposed impact of this for a 12-month look back at what the financial impact would be from a revenue perspective heading into the next calendar year. I believe that's a reasonable request because these are all what I call transactional tax
Who do we
related.
send the bill to for doing that? Because that's gonna take our people's time. To the finance committee? I'm not sure. We'll try,
Pass the basket.
we will, Joe, we will do our very best.
I would like to invite you to attend one of the opening finance committee meetings so that we can put that as an agenda item and you can make the entire finance committee aware of the impact if there is any, Mr. Lane. So that's the motivation.
I may attend as the moderator anyways. But,
That would be excellent.
okay, I'll accept your invitation.
Thank you.
Okay, we're gonna move on to number 8. Review and potentially revise the Board of Health policy concerning the disposal system installer's permit. That's tab number 8. And the reason I put this on the agenda is because now that we're basically a straight Title V town, we will need to review and revise the installer's test. I've never actually seen the installer's test, but I'm assuming we're going to have to do that.
We have 2 versions
Okay.
of that test. So that if an individual comes in and takes the test and does not pass it with the 75%, they're offered the second test, but it's different than the first test, so it's not memorized.
Okay, so right now we offer the test, they can take it twice in one day?
Not in one day.
Okay, all right.
Because there's a correction process.
Yeah.
It's usually not corrected while they're waiting.
Okay, all right.
And
All
then
right.
they're notified.
But were there questions in that test that were specific to Sterling regulations?
I
that
don't know.
don't exist anymore? So,
I can't answer that.
yeah, so we're gonna have to look into that, right? And revise that if there are. So that's the main reason for bringing this up, because, again, I haven't seen the test. I was a little hesitant to ask for the test, and I don't know why, other than I'm not gonna become an installer, but, so I will, I think as a board, we should take a look at the test.
I'd love to look at it.
And David, so that we can revise that. This is a jumping off point. I'm putting something out there to review. There are a lot of other towns that have options to obtain a installer's permit. And again, now that we're straight Title V, there isn't really anything specific to Sterling. So that if they have been permitted in 3 other towns, then they can give us a letter of recommendation. That would be one way, or they could take our exam.
Point of order there.
Yep.
I don't think we should use the word recommendation from other towns, because that implies that some board is recommending them. I think we want to be careful of that word.
Okay. What do you suggest?
Off the top of my head,
You brought it up.
that
competence?
Letter,
I like
a
that.
letter I don't know,
Competence, David suggested?
letter of, I'm not thinking well of that one word.
Okay,
Give me a little time and
so is there?
Excellent performance?
So,
a letter certifying that they have an installer's license. That's really what you're looking for.
well, they're gonna submit the permit, they're gonna submit the license.
Yeah,
They would have to submit it from 3 towns.
yeah. Well, maybe that's sufficient. Maybe the fact that they hold a license, but I think the word recommendation, that
You
could
think
be.
they might hesitate to say they recommend?
Well,
Other
I
towns
think
do
it's,
this,
I
right?
think it's maybe inappropriate for, if somebody came up to us
Okay.
and said, tell me if you recommend blank installer in the town of Sterling. I
Okay.
don't think we'd ever do that.
All right.
We'd say that person has held a license in Sterling from year one, and you know,
So-
that it should be factual what we're trying to do,
Okay.
not a recommendation.
All right. Fair enough.
Or have operated in our town for a number of years? How about that?
If you
Because
give me a little
Yeah, that's a fair.
time for the next meeting,
because if they haven't, what if somebody's worked mostly in Sterling and West Boylston?
Well, that's-
They've been working here for 8 years, right? Because they've only worked in 2 towns?
I think you're pointing
They
out
have to
that
take the exam.
Oh.
Right? It's an either or.
one of these towns, it says one of these towns.
No, well, that's the letter of recommendation. So if we take the letter of recommendation out and just say, if you're already permitted in 3 other towns,
Yeah, that's what we want to do.
are you good with that?
Yeah.
I'm good with that too.
With that.
Without the letter?
With that,
Or you're permanent in 3 towns, or you're required to take the test? Is that what we're saying?
yeah, I'm good with that.
At least one
Alan has-
letter. Let's see, how many towns, do we say any
Permits.
number of towns there? Must be permitted in three towns.
Or be,
A letter certifying, letter from 3 towns certifying they hold licenses in these towns.
Well, can't they just submit their permit, a copy of their permit to us and act?
Well, you could do that. If they held permits in 3 towns.
Right,
Submit your 3 permits.
okay. So they would have to submit their 3 active permits
Yeah.
from 3 separate towns or take the exam. Because I think your point on the letter of recommendation is
Recommendation
made.
is
Yeah.
not a word we ever want to use.
I would suggest that we put in, must be something to the effect of actively permitted, or, you know what I'm.
I would say, we just put a time frame, letters showing
Yeah.
permits.
must be actively permitted, you could put that right in there.
That,
Okay, yeah, because we don't want to permit, not that we would accept it anyways, but just put it right out there.
1976
Yeah,
permits.
yeah, no. Must be actively or currently, how's that? Currently,
current permits from,
how about must submit these current permits
sure,
or be, and then we'd say, or be required to take and pass the town. Active permits. So A would read, persons applying for a disposal system installer's permit, candidates, must be permitted to install systems in 3 Massachusetts cities or towns and must submit these active permits or be required to take and pass the Town of Sterling Board of Health Septic System Installer's exam. That good?
Yep.
Okay. So we put in there they have to pay the fee for each exam attempt The passing score is 75%. That's consistent with the state. This is something that I think is very important, and I want to make sure it makes sense to everybody that's reading it. The candidates who pass the exam but do not score 100% shall be remediated concerning all questions answered incorrectly. This remediation shall be documented on the exam. And what that means is, I get two questions wrong. I need to be told and acknowledged what the correct answer is. This is something that we instituted in one of my past careers, where people would go in and testify in court. Well, I got that question wrong on the exam, so I didn't know what to do. And so from then on, we always remediated everybody, and they had to initial what the correct answer was, so now they understood the right way to do it. And I think that is the right way to do something, to make sure that everybody understands. You put this answer, that's wrong. This is the right answer. You know the answer. Does that make sense?
It does make sense, and just to reassure the board currently, when Kathy provides an exam to an individual and they take and pass or fail the exam, Kathy then cites the specific code where this answer is. She cites it all out. It is provided as a
So
citation.
we're doing this already.
We're doing this.
It's just not written down. Yeah.
And it's provided back to the...
No, but it's not written in a
Oh,
policy.
that's correct.
See, this is the way it's
Spelled out
my
here, sure, sure.
I like it written in a policy. That way, everybody knows it's done for everybody. And do we have a time frame? So, when I was putting this together, I picked 14 calendar days for two reasons, really. Number one, I think that's sufficient time for someone to go back and restudy. And number two, it's good motivation for people to study. Because I don't want to have to wait another 2 weeks to have to take my exam if I'm an installer. But I think it is reasonable to say, you know what, you didn't get a 75, you really you're not knowledgeable enough, you need to go back and study more. You should know this stuff if you're installing. So, what do you guys think on that?
I agree, cost them a little bit.
Okay. And then we should review, just like anything else, we should review the exam. I put biannually here. I thought that was probably enough. We have enough things to review every year. So just looking for feedback on that.
Yeah,
Good.
I'm fine with that.
It's number 4. The exam shall be reviewed at least biannually by the Board of Health and updated if necessary. The Board of Health may seek experts and/or consultants to assist in this review process.
So, David, what's the source of our exam?
What's
The source of the exam?
Yeah,
The source?
yeah.
It's I believe it's 50 questions. I shouldn't say this, I'm sorry. It's
Well-
either 25 or 50 questions.
Okay.
25 multiple choice, 25 true false, is how it's considered
Who
currently.
made up what was the source?
Oh, I'm sorry, the source, I don't know, the exam has been in place since Walter was here.
I asked this, and I believe someone from DPH actually, not DPH, DEP actually helped us, and I'm not sure if it was Kathy that told me that. But the DEP will help us.
Oh, sure.
Put the exam together, so.
The exam that we use, both of them, have been in place since before my time, Walter.
So, good time to review anyways.
Yeah, okay, I just was,
Yeah.
it's an external, it's come from some external source, wasn't made up in Sterling. That's good.
Okay, I move we accept this.
As
Yeah,
amended.
as amended.
Okay, you have a motion to accept as amended.
Yeah,
Alan seconds. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
So we have on our website currently policies. What we'll do is we'll clean this up and we'll put this on our website with the rest of our policies.
Okay. Okay, and now the next item on our agenda is to discuss the letter from the DEP concerning our request for technical assistance. Hopefully everybody's had a time to review that. It sounds in a way that they're willing to help, although this is for us, it's not really for us.
Yeah.
It's for the audit committee, and the audit committee didn't receive a copy of this, so.
So I'm concerned where he says you ought to talk to the attorney. I left a message for him today because I wanted to ask him what his concerns were and what he thought our concerns were.
That's their general guidance whenever you change your regulations to run them by the attorney. That's not
Yeah, but
specific to
we're
this. That is in there.
So they just put that
general
in
guidance.
anyways?
He put everything in this,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. So I wanted to talk to him and ask him what he thought could be problematic.
I don't think he's even seen our regulations.
Well, if it's straight Title V, we've seen them.
Right.
I'm sorry, I guess I'm lost here. Well,
David, one of the things he says in here is,
Consult with town council?
consult with town council,
I don't think he's talking about are we talking about our regulations, or I'm under the assumption we sent the DEP looking for technical assistance on our
We did.
our procedures,
We
not
did.
specific to our regulations.
I think this is just boilerplate
Oh, okay.
language that they send out. That's
And I was not assuming that. I was assuming he said it for a specific reason. So I tried to reach out to him to find out what he thought the drawbacks or repercussions we could incur on ourselves by letting them in. And
Well-
having them look at the, because I think that's a fair question.
Well,
If there are repercussions for having them come
Can I,
inspect.
my impression of this letter when I read it, what they're saying is, they'll give us technical assistance on Title V things.
Right.
Anything else, then we should consult with town council, the Massachusetts
Yes.
Department of Public Health,
Yeah.
for anything else.
Yes.
That's my interpretation.
And I agree with you.
Okay.
And I think it's
Okay.
kind of like boilerplate language for them to cover themselves.
Exactly.
We're gonna help you.
But we're really not gonna help.
Basically, we're gonna help you with whatever we can help you with, that's Title V. That's-
Right, Title, that they'll help us with Title
Yeah.
V, not so much about the duties and responsibilities of the department.
Which is not what we were looking for.
So, right,
No,
and,
it's
and, we'll bring this up because this is correspondence that came to the board. I think this is more for the audit committee to review and perhaps reach out to Mr. Kapaska. The only thing that I think the board needs to do with regards to this is to perhaps designate a point of contact on this board if the audit committee has any questions, concerns, or something that needs to be brought back to the board. I'm a big proponent on individual points of contact so that we can do business, but that has to be approved as a vote of the board if we want to designate a point of contact with the audit committee in regard to this.
I would rather have the contact be with the board itself. I don't think this is all that complicated. And,
But the issue is, the special town meeting voted to have an audit of the Board of Health.
Right.
We can't ignore that as a board.
But it came out to be very expensive, right?
But that's not our issue. You know, that's not this board's issue. The audit committee has to work that out one way or the other. This was an attempt to try to help work that out through the DEP. But we can't exclude the audit committee when the voters demanded an audit. So my point is, I'd rather be involved with the audit committee through a point of contact than not have any interaction whatsoever. I don't want, in other words, I don't want the audit committee to be speaking to the DEP without
Us knowing.
us, you know, involved in it, or us speaking to them about this without them involved in it. It really needs to be, we need to make ourselves accessible. That's what an audit is about.
Right.
You know, I got nothing to hide. I want them to look. So, but as far as the board goes, it's a lot easier to do that if we as a board designate a point of contact. Doesn't matter to me who it is.
I don't mind being the point of contact for them.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
I don't mind being a point of contact.
For the audit committee.
Okay,
to move
I'm
forward.
okay with that.
Okay, so so you make the motion to have Gail be the point of contact
Yeah.
for the audit committee. Lane will second. Any further discussion on that? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
All right, it's unanimous. So Gail will be the point of contact for the audit committee concerning, you know, any further discussion on this letter and anything that they need of us. Good?
Yep.
Joe, you're on the audit committee. Do you have anything to add or comment on? I didn't even have to say it.
Learning creation.
It's repetitiveness.
As a member of this audit committee, along with Dan Donovan and Maureen Cranston, we're gonna have to, I guess, meet up with Gail and decide a plan of attack. I don't find that letter very encouraging at all. It's kind of like saying, if you have a technical, and they're very careful to say technical, and they're concerned about a Title V issue, we're your guy, okay? But anything else, go to these three others and go shopping there. And I agree with Elaine's assessment of the reading of it, so.
I guess my answer to that was, we'll see.
So, are you of an opinion to the audit committee that this is pretty much a stand-down pathway for the audit committee? So that we should, yeah, in other words, we shouldn't pursue them any further, we should pursue the alternative recommendations that they mentioned in that.
Well, it's not my place to make that recommendation or even suggest a path. I wouldn't abandon any path if I was in your position, I'll put it that way. I wouldn't abandon any path.
I was asking for an opinion.
Okay, my opinion is I would not abandon that path.
Okay,
If I was on the audit committee, I would reach out to Mr. Kapaska.
okay. For clarification.
Sure.
Okay.
Asking a question doesn't cost anything.
The reason I bring that up is when you and I had talked earlier about it, you wanted to pursue this path before we pursued any other alternatives. I assume that we're down that path now and we should go pursue this and other alternatives.
Well, to clarify, I brought this up because I didn't know any other alternatives. I thought this may be a path. I didn't know what their answer would be. But again, it's my opinion. I would rather ask the question and get a no than not ask the question at all.
Okay.
Because as you know, there's $10,000 that the voters decide. So,
Okay, enough said.
okay.
We look forward to working with Gail.
All right. Thank you, Joe. Sorry to keep you so long, but I know you enjoy being here. The next item on the agenda is, and all I really would like to mention is, on this is, I would like to review as a board, not in any one sitting, but as we move forward, to review, consolidate our policies, and, as we're looking at them, revising them, because I think any good organization is constantly reviewing and revising their policies as needed. So I'm not looking for any action tonight, other than to just kind of put it out there that we should be able to go to one place on the website or in a book or however we do it and say, this is the Board of Health policies. This is how we handle personnel. This is how we handle Title V. This is how we handle health inspections, or restaurant inspections, or whatever. Everything that we do should have some type of policy behind it, because that policy leads to procedure, and procedure leads to fairness. So, and people can't say, well, he is treated one way here and the other way there if we have a policy to go by. So I come from that world of policies and procedures, and I like to have them nice and neat in one place and comprehensive. So again, going forward, I would like to go into that path. Do you have any comment on that? It's not really. Okay.
No, I agree. I mean, you just do it small bits.
We would have to do it in small bits, definitely. Okay. All right. Next item on the agenda is public session. Do we have anyone that wants to speak at public session? Okay. Well, I've been asked to speak at public session, so since nobody in the audience has anything, I've been asked by a group of citizens to present a little thank you to one of our citizens in Sterling. Person that spends many hours without compensation to help our town be a better place by picking up loads and loads of trash. And many of us have done this in town with different groups. For instance, I've done it with the Boy Scouts, cleaning up at the side of the roads. I have participated in Earth Days in the past in town. And of course, with Yahoo, I did it. But Laura does this regularly and on her own time, and she cleans up a lot of trash. And when you clean up the trash on the side of the road, you're preventing people from putting more trash there. Because I think all of us know that once somebody sees stuff dumped on the side of the road, other people tend to do the same thing. It's a nasty human nature type thing. So on behalf of this group of citizens, I want to thank Laura for your work and your work in preventing more trash from being brought into the town. All right? So we have a thank you note here that we'd like to give you. And there's a couple of gift certificates, one for Over Easy and one for Emma's. So.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you, Laura. Okay.
I don't know. I was recognized by the Economical Development Committee a few years ago with Roseanne. Gave me a certification for that too. I don't know, I'm only one person. I can't do the whole town.
No,
But
I think this group of people wanted to just recognize you. And
thank you to whoever you are.
And it was all.
Oh, they're right there.
Thank you.
Okay.
Note there, that's for you. But they came to me and I said, you know what, it is, I was wondering whether it would be appropriate at the Board of Health, but it is appropriate at the Board of Health.
It is the Board
because
of Health. And I've been
It's cleaning up
thanked.
the town, all
I've been
right?
thanked by the DCR guys that drive around too, and the DOT, okay, because I asked both of them for bags, okay? So, I don't know, I'm amazed at the amount of trash. Some of it comes from businesses that come through here, like landscapers, the mulch bags, they fly out of their trailers. Some of it has been reduced with the Casella trash receptacles that we have now, but a lot of it still flies out of their trucks.
I think it comes from a lot of different things.
It does, it does. The town center over here, I know I was able to get Ryan Meridian to get rid of that trash barrel that was down here. It was infested with bees and your dog poop, okay? And the
Well,
barrel.
it was in the garbage can.
Well, it was horrible. It was horrible one day with there. People could have got stung by the yellow jackets there. And the lady that runs the Sterling Street Market, she was telling me that she was responsible for cleaning up the trash that the market leaves there, but she came in to the thing not being clean, so Ryan just cut the whole thing out of there and put the other Casella trash thing there now. So, but, I mean, everybody can pick up trash in the town if they see it, and I have had 2 instances, and people can chastise me all they want about it, but somebody left a dog poop bag on one of the metal benches over in the back of the school, and somebody left one just up against the tree on the road. So you're supposed to take your dog poop home with you, okay?
Right.
Because the bags don't disintegrate.
Nobody's gonna pick it up for you.
Yeah,
All right.
you're better off letting your dog poop without putting it in a bag if you're really gonna leave it there. So.
Don't encourage
Oh, yeah,
that.
don't encourage that. Please don't
I'm just
encourage
saying.
Good. Thank you.
So anyways, thank you for your recognition.
Okay, so any future agenda items, and we'll talk about our meeting date.
We'll review more fee schedules.
Yeah. Oh, we won't do that.
Okay.
We'll try to narrow it down next time. I'll narrow it down. I was a little too ambitious, I guess. Okay? And so we're into August already. We're looking at August 8th?
Yeah, looks like that. That's what it looks like.
It's okay with me.
Okay. Well, next meeting will be August 8th. And again, if you guys have agenda items that you want to put on there, just talk to David, we'll take care of them. Motion to adjourn.
Second,
I don't make it, you make it.
motion to adjourn.
Second.
No discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.